Hey guys, alright, just before the show starts, I wanted to let you guys know that my fight against cancel culture is still happening. Please go to the description below. There's a link titled Support My Fight Against Cancel Culture. If you want to help my fight, please consider giving a bit of a donation. All the information's in that link. With that being said, enjoy the show.
Wait, what's going on?
We're live.
Een werk gehad. Een werk, Rian.
Ek is die swarte wat Afrikaans praat. Vanaand alles is in sy moer. Die hele wêreld is in sy moer. Trump is in sy moer. Cyril Ramaphosa is ook in sy poes. Alles is in sy wêreld is in sy poes. And the weather.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Which is also apparently used push.
Yeah, here in the Netherlands, you get used to every other place is called Moer something. Like over here, there's a place called Moerdijk.
Are you fucking serious?
The first time I saw it, I thought it was something about lesbians, but you know.
It's what it's called when you're going down on someone. It's like, oh, I said moergedijk hoor.
Chantal has just subscribed to the channel.
Oh my god, whoa.
alright, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Funny You Should Say That. We are here for part 2 of discussing what is right wing, and we have a special guest with us tonight, Rob Jugan, also known as Marhobane. Please, his YouTube channel is in the description below, so please go give him a subscribe. He's a bit of a historian, and I think he's produced some great videos that I highly recommend people to go watch. So yeah, we're going to be discussing that. But if you guys want to know what was happening in the beginning, Oba King said that you said that he looks like, what's that guy's name again?
He looks like a young Rian Krewa.
A 1936 ID photo.
If you think of Rian Krewa in high school in his matric year on the matric book, you know, the high school book. It comes out every year of some old shit, 1943. This is the picture that you will find.
But you know, no one knows how old he is, though. I mean, have you seen that guy? If you look at him on the first broadcast in 1976, he looks the exact same as he did in like 2000. Fuck off! Because I swear to God, that guy was mummified the moment he went on television. They just wheeled him out everywhere.
Rian Kruiwagen, Terra Lakota, and Mangosuthu Buthelezi share a freezer. And then once a year, they are taken out of the freezer. And then they make a public appearance. And then when they're done, they are frozen again until the next year.
But Mangosuthu Buthelezi, that guy, I mean, Jesus, COVID didn't kill him. Nothing kills him. He's just soldiering on until he withers away like the old vampires.
He's the political Keith Richards. He'll outlive all of us.
The real question is, will he outlive our tax income?
No, he's the guy in history to outlive all of his wives. Like
outliving our tax base is not much of an achievement these days. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean the way that things are going. I mean that might not be too long from now. Because the tax base is leaving in unprecedented numbers.
Call it what it is. This is politicians' wallet. Like let's stop calling it tax. This is not tax anymore. This is salary. This is wallet.
Well, I mean, if you're an anarchist, then your position will be that there is no distinction between the state and the mafia. They're just another protection racket.
Yeah, basically. Cyril Escobar.
Cyril Ramasaurus.
I tweeted this. Speaking of Cyril, I tweeted this the other day. There was something I found on Wikipedia.
What are you saying about these guys? Are they some kind of a mafia? Some kind of saying here. I feel like that's kind of the picture that you're painting about the government.
That's a good brand, though.
Fish. One hand in the pond, eh?
Yeah, well, they call it. We call it national security, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of national security, I found something.
No, I like this guy. I like this Robert guy. I like this guy Robert over here, eh? He's very funny, this guy Robert over here. I like this guy, man. That's a bad Italian impression.
That's Al Pacino on crack.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much just Al Pacino.
I just
You know who's good at doing Al Pacino is I can't
Hunter
remember which
Biden,
one it is.
because he's on crack, isn't he?
Oh no, do you know who else has done crack? Apparently, is Tito Mboweni. Apparently, allegedly.
Allegedly.
No, he's just been cooking.
Allegedly.
That's his crack. Have you seen it? It's just the crack.
I say allegedly because I don't want to get sued
Yeah.
down the line if this gets, because I found this someone linked me to this WikiLeaks article, and it's like by some guy who goes by Gunther Schickelgruber. Now, like it's a pseudonym, but if you actually know what that name is, that was Hitler's father's name. So
Oh, snap.
Gunther Schickelgruber. So anyway,
like a fucking disease.
this is a pseudonym. But the guy who wrote this article, he compiles and it's from during the Mbeki era, and it's full of all of the most outrageous, dark and twisted, juicy tales about everyone from Johan Rupert to fucking Jacob Zuma to Cyril Ramaphosa, and apparently Cyril Ramaphosa is a closet homosexual who likes little boys, according to this report.
Ooh.
And it
Allegedly.
changed everything for me, 'cause
I
that's
would
what I-
not be surprised. Right?
Allegedly. Dude, but look
I
at him
would
when you
not-
see him talking. He has that slight
I think
mincing.
my data's running out,
Oh,
guys. My
the
Wi-Fi
way
is- I don't
Watch
know.
him. Watch him in the release. He's like, well, it would be nice if everybody behaved.
Oh, boy.
I don't want to laugh at
Oh,
that, but
boy.
that's-
He's like the fat black George Takei.
Woo, roast of Cyril Ramaphosa, guys.
You're still your president, you know. I'm just saying.
Actually, Rob isn't
with
in
the
South
Hawks.
Africa, so he can get away, I guess, with saying this. So yeah. But anyway, let's get into the topic
I
at
don't want
hand.
the tender, so I won't say anything bad about the president.
Let's get into the topic at hand, gents. Last week we did, or not last week, the week before when we did part one, we defined right wing, we defined conservative according to the many different definitions, according to Wiki, according to Oxford, and according to Urban Dictionary. And we discussed those definitions. So please, if you want to go and check out that episode, please check it out. It's the previous episode before this one. So tonight we thought we'd bring on Rob because he is a self-proclaimed radical right wing person, if I can put it that way. He said so before on my show when I discussed a lapsed communist. So he's also used to be a radical lefty, and he has since left that side, ironically, and moved over to the right. So again, interesting story
it's
with that.
basically like an ambidextrous wing.
I'm like, if you think of the left as a church, you can call me like a lapsed communist,
Yeah.
like a lapsed Catholic. But
Yeah, so he's
the-
he's moved over to the right, and
You
we
left
wanted
family.
to
That you leave the family.
get we wanted to get your opinion, Rob, on what is right wing. How would you define it, being someone who's self-proclaimed radical
Okay.
right? And then we'll ask you
Well-
questions, and maybe we'll add or debate.
Well, the way I approach it is instead of treating it as something that's universal or a normal feature of any political system, I just say, well, where did it come from? Where does this left-right shit come? Because it comes from somewhere. Everything comes from somewhere. So it comes from the French Revolution. So the revolution got going, and they managed to get the people's representation. So they had democracy. But the House was divided on whether they take the revolution to the end or whether the revolution's gone far enough. And the people who said the revolution's gone far enough stood on the right side of the king, and the people who said take it to the end stood on the left side of the king. And so the left wing of the House became the eternal revolutionaries, and the right wing are just everyone else. And the French Revolution had a particular philosophical character, and it split off into what's now known as into what became revolutionary nationalism. into liberalism, into socialism, feminism, anarchism, communism. All of these ideas, as we understand them, evolved from the French Revolution. And so we're stuck with all of that crap, and all of it sort of, the one thing that unites it is actually something theological, because all of the philosophers who of the French Revolution were all members of various different organizations, either the Freemasons, the Modernists, or the Rosicrucians. And what all of those organizations share is that they are okay, this is going to get too deep if I go into this corner now, but basically they have this thing where they exalt reason, they don't believe in original sin, they're deists, so all gods and all religions are actually one, and there's a sort of secret mystical way to extract truth from the ether and all this kind of nonsense. And so the first thing they did when the left wing gained power is they set up a church to reason, and they actually set up an altar and this whole business, and they changed the names of the months. Total insane shit. So the calendar started from year 0. Yeah, all of that crazy nutcase stuff. And you can see all of the same stuff happening again when Karl Marx starts writing. He starts saying, well, you can get political equality before the law, but it's still alienating because the state's a separate organism from the rest of society, and you've got businesses and shopkeepers, and you've got employees and employers, and you've got the clergy and the flock. And the only way you can truly realize democracy is by eliminating the state and eliminating all of these divisions in society and basically evaporating everything and producing pure freedom and equality. It's just completely impossible, but it doesn't stop people trying. So the left is following in a tradition where by various means they try and make all of humanity perfectly free from all restrictions on all of their desires. And they believe that human beings are basically good in nature, as opposed to being the fucked up little bastards we really are.
I
I have never denied it. I have never denied the true self.
Just saying.
Yeah, but you're an
And so the way
That
that
sounds like a page out of your biography, I'm just saying.
Yep.
It literally sounds like you were just Mikhail from birth to now. I was just like, oh, that's why he's a fucked up little bastard. Okay, I get it now. Thank you. I've been trying. This has been the bone of my contention for as long as I've known this man.
I'm going to read you actually.
Sorry.
I'm going to see if I can find this quote, because there's this guy. So there's a group of people who turned against the French Revolution, and they called themselves reactionaries.
Oh, sorry.
Well, the Kanakis. But they call themselves reactionaries, and one of them is called Joseph de Maistre. And he has this like absolutely magnificent quote. And if you want to understand how what like the total like pure platonic form of right wingness is, he's got this incredibly dramatic little paragraph where he just like throws any kind of optimism about human nature out the window, and he says, in the whole vast dome of living nature there reigns an open violence, a kind of prescriptive fury which arms all of the creatures to their common doom. As soon as you leave the inanimate kingdom, you find the decree of violent death inscribed on the very frontiers of life. You feel it already in the vegetable kingdom. From the great catalpa to the humblest herb, how many plants die and how many are killed. But from the moment you enter the animal kingdom, this law is suddenly in the most dreadful evidence. A power of violence, at once hidden and palpable, has in each species appointed a certain number of animals to devour the others. And who, in this general carnage, exterminates him who will exterminate all others? Himself. It is man who is charged with the slaughter of man. The whole earth, perpetually steeped in blood, is nothing but a vast altar upon all that is living must be sacrificed without end, without measure, without pause, until the consummation of all things, until evil is extinct, until the death of death.
Sure.
And
that sounds
so
like
that's
a long-winded way of saying, yo, everybody, everyone is in their poos. Literally,
That's
that is the most sophisticated way I've ever heard.
I mean, you're right.
You are
of course.
born,
I mean, you're
you
right.
are in this world, and as far as you know, you are in your poos. Thank you.
But
that would be the
That's
technical scientific description. Yes.
Sorry. That's what it sounds
but
like.
I'm just guessing they maybe they have that abbreviate wordage back
Yeah,
then.
poos hasn't been invented yet.
Hence the verboseness. Hence the verboseness. But,
Yeah,
but we
no.
get it. You know, he was just
Maybe Nai was around.
that was his day's
Okay.
version of you in your puss. Okay.
So-
I
Over
don't
King's
think-
Guide
I
to
don't think it-
Nihilism.
Yeah, maybe Nai was around, and then poos had not been invented yet, so we could say all the stuff that you said, and now the word, like in your poos just literally replaced all that beautiful writing. Basically, imagine like if David Attenborough could even say that same shit. Basically, everyone.
Those words over
in the
here in the
world
Netherlands
is in
are
their
like
books.
nothing. Like I wish I could swear like Afrikaans over here in the Netherlands, but it means nothing. Nai
Is it?
is just sewing, and a puss is
Yeah.
a cat.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
So,
So
but-
are you telling me I can go to the Netherlands and just call everyone a poos, and then they'll think I'm calling them a cat? This is fantastic.
I think they'll figure it out.
I'm going to the
They'll figure it
Netherlands
out
just to
eventually.
call everyone a poos. That is what I'm doing. I'm gonna
And then,
document this
and then
shit.
you and
I'm
then
gonna
you're
put it
gonna
on
walk
live.
into this one Dutchman. You're
I'm
gonna
gonna-
walk into this one Dutchman and you're gonna go, hey, you puss. And
This is
then
my
he's going to give
This
you
guy
a
is a poos.
puss clap.
and you'll be like, oh my god, I'm going to the Netherlands just for that. So I can call everyone a poos and nobody's going to kick me in my poos. So I'll be fine. I'm going to the Netherlands.
You know what their version of all this shit is? They use diseases. They'll call you like one of the best insults that I like is a kankerhoer. So that would be a cancer hole. Or they'll tell you to get cholera if they want to tell you to fuck off.
Shit.
Krijg de cholera.
Okay,
So-
to be honest, that get cholera insult I think was founded by Wouter Basson.
That's quite a specific insult.
That's why I'm thinking it's very Wouter Basson-esque. I really want to go study the etymology of that insult and see if there's a photo that I recognize next to it.
Hey, you get a
God, one
fungal
of my-
infection. Yes. There you go.
One of my elderly
fungal
family
infection, you
members
can-
embarrassed me to no end because I mentioned this. I can't remember what context Wouter Basson managed to come up in a polite tea time conversation at the elderly relative's house, but then she says to me, "Nee, ek kan nie daai slegte dinge glo oor daai man. Hy is so gaaf." And I was like, where are you meeting this guy? What are you doing? Shame, falling in with the wrong crowd. You must watch out for these old generations. They can get into bad influences, eh?
But he is a good guy. He's the head of cardiology at Grote Skier.
Is he still?
Yes.
I thought wasn't his license revoked like 5 years ago?
No, they were trying, but it was not successful.
All right, so let's get back on topic. Sorry, Rob. Let's get back on
So I
topic.
think
So,
the question was, is Rob right?
Well, it's not late.
Right
That was
about
quite
it.
a long-winded way. That was quite a long-winded way to say, I'm right.
well, here's the thing, right? So this is what I wanna actually establish in this episode with Rob as well. So, like we discussed before in the previous stream, there seems to be a stigma now with right wing. Rob, I think, explained where it comes from in history, and when you explain it like that, it doesn't actually sound that bad. It's just
They're all right-wing.
yeah.
Exceptional right. Yeah.
So now there's a stigma around it, and you're either left or you are right wing in the sense of you're apparently a fascist, a racist, and you like this evil person,
Yeah.
radical, you're militant and stuff like that. And the thing is, as I said before, Rob considers himself radical right, but an interesting radical right. So I don't want people to think that when I say
Counter-revolutionary.
yes. So explain that to us.
Is that a counter-revolution? Is that somebody that sits on the counter and is a revolutionary? Sorry.
Well, it means you. Well, it
I'm
means
just
you're
saying
like
right
sitting
now.
on the lazy
that's
Susan.
Like my count.
Double
Basically.
face bomb. Double face bomb, Robert King.
I
Double
don't know,
fucking
guys.
face bomb.
Counter I was trying to make
joke. If you want to make a joke about that, you say you're just sitting, a guy who likes sitting on the lazy Susan. But
basically. Also, we can just skip over that. But that was a bad joke. It went very badly.
It was bad.
It was very bad.
I don't think we'll be cancelled tonight for our content.
We can use like you go wah wah wah.
No,
Somebody makes a really shit joke.
That's fine.
All right, Rob, go.
Don't hurt your feelings.
But I mean, look, here's the thing: if you want to know why the right is stigmatized, it's not all that complicated. I mean, the thing is, in left-wing circles for a long time, reaction and they dominated the upper classes of many different countries: France, Russia, Germany. And particularly towards the end of the 19th century, and they instituted massive institutional changes to Western society, complete reform of a higher education in Britain and America in the interwar period. And so the left has defined to a large extent what we consider good and evil. Democracy is seen as a good in itself, and you're supposed to maximize democracy everywhere. If you're against democracy, you're a bad person. And we've all, if you've ever seen a mob go buck wild, you understand why democracy is not so lacquer. But I mean, take for example someone like Greece. Any politician who comes up and says, "I'm going to spend infinite money on you, and then I'm going to charge the European Central Bank with a whole bunch of loans, and we're just not going to pay them back, guys. It's all pashash. We'll let the next guy take care of it." And that's what you get when you get democracies. People just vote for free shit. They don't worry about whether they've got to pay for it. So the problem is that because the left wing ended up being so dominant and popular and allowed the upper classes to say, well, we're doing good for our fellow man, you know, you get this situation where they tear apart all of these social institutions, and then you're left with chaos. And a whole bunch of people start deferring to the right wing and making compromises. And then you get this weird hybrid thing called fascism that saw itself as a third way. So it drew from like the classes of disaffected military men and, you know, fallout students and all kinds of silly people like this, who then take revolutionary socialism and marry it to nationalism. So, and this you can see everywhere you look. All of the fascist movements were socialist in origin and kept their socialist plans for the economy and for the constitution. Single party, dominating everything. In fact, I think it's quite funny how similar the Nazi Party's economic policy is to the ANC's, except for the full employment thing. They're not so keen on full employment here in South Africa.
Sure.
But the problem with this is after the Second World War, Hitler was the enemy. And so the left had a fantastic way of framing it, because then they could say that Hitler is the furthest epitome of the right, and the furthest epitome of the left is democracy, which is just totally a good thing, isn't it? And so what you get is they've defined good and evil. They managed to define good and evil in terms of their political goals. And the problem with that is that their political goals are fucking batshit insane, as evidenced by every time that it's been attempted in history, whether it's Soviet socialism, Fabian socialism in the form of the United Nations, or compromise nonsense socialism in the case of Zimbabwe, or So the problem is that we're stuck with this stupid idea of the spectrum, which is this one-dimensional thing along which all political ideas are supposed to sit, and anything that isn't close to communism is a compromise with Adolf Hitler.
Interesting.
And that's the lie that we told from birth.
All right, and what is the difference? Like, so you also just very quickly tell us what you are. You named it now. What was that term you gave yourself? Radical.
Counter-revolutionary.
Yes, so explain that to us.
Well, I think revolutions are in themselves bad. I mean, look at every revolutionary movement in history. French Revolution, Nazis, Bolsheviks, Khmer Rouge, China. Who else have we got?
Joe doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
Rob's just confused.
Wah,
Wah, wah, wah.
Counter-revolutionary. Come on, guys. You guys are trying
but
I
no,
want, I
here's
want
the,
pizza back. I really want
Yes.
pizza back right now.
I will not sit here.
Sorry.
because people have questions. I got questions. No,
Sorry,
I
Rob.
do have a question now. Now, counter to that, now saying that all revolutions are bad, and bad things happen. We're aware of this, but also, where would the world have been had we had not gone through those various revolutions and counter revolutions? It always feels like there's like the pendulum swings one way and then it swings the other way, and it seems to sort of go from extreme to extreme. But with every pendulum swing, it becomes a little bit more closer to the center. I almost feel it's like a part of the
I don't think so.
social evolution of humans.
I don't think so.
Or
The idea that
exactly the same mistakes.
Yeah, no, we're bound to repeat the same mistakes for eternity. But we had progress from about the 13th century until 1945, and this is evidenced by there's a fantastic paper. It's not Manuel. Is it Manuel Eisner? Because I keep messing up this guy, the guy with the man who wrote the theory he used to explain his data. I think Manuel Eisner is the theorist. I've got to look up the fellow who wrote the paper. But basically what this fellow did is he took all of the records for homicides, any parish anywhere in Europe that recorded their homicide rate anywhere, all the way back till the Black Death.
Mm-hmm.
And for about 100 years before. And so you've got this thing where right up until the Black Death, you've got this sharp climb of homicide, and then it just starts going down, and it's on a logarithmic scale. He's plotting this thing, and it's still like a steep straight line. Goes all the way down, and when it and reaches the lowest homicide rates that the world has ever seen by the time you get to 1950-ish in Western Europe. And what he essentially explains is that over this time, the norms around social conduct kept deepening and deepening and deepening. And the state's penetration and understanding of the rule of law became deeper and richer. But what has changed since the post-war period is that we are meticulously dismantling. This is driven by the managerial classes who all go to the universities where they learn revolutionary ideas. But revolution never really hasn't really taken hold. Socialist revolution, anyways, hasn't really taken hold in Western Europe since the 19th century. So what has happened is that in the early 20th century, Antonio Gramsci, who's an Italian communist, figured out that Western Europe would never be taken by violent revolution. And so what they needed to be done is dismantled by reform. And the nature of reform was settled in the 1930s by fellows who belonged to something called the Frankfurt School. As people adjacent to them, it's more of a network thing, less of a institutional plan thing. But they came up with theories about why it doesn't matter on the details. They came up with theories why Western society is wrong and everything. And many of the things we believe now that we're starting to see actually realized in the form of the United Nations Sustainable Development Guidelines are technocratic policy versions of like really extraordinary utopian human engineering programs that are born out of revolutionary ideologies, but instituted in this like cold clinical managerial way, and put upon governments through treaties, which are then which the governments then adhere to. And you can sort of see funny shenanigans like this. Like everyone follows the Sustainable Development Programs pretty much to the letter, and so you'll see things like every single politician running for election or on any campaign or any program now is running with the slogan "Building Back Better." And it's just the transatlantic political community is centrally coordinated. So they all agree on the same values. They all learned the same things at university. They all, through the 90s, there's big things about like the risk society.
It's almost like a mafia that's internationally connected.
Yes. Over King's pay
Sorry,
grade.
Oba King.
IRP 5 or nothing.
But basically, what they've been dismantling is they've been dismantling all kinds of policing measures. They've been putting people on welfare. Welfare is expanded. If you look at welfare expenditure, like people getting grants, people getting like free hospitals, free education, all this stuff. All of that has exploded since the end of World War II. And it's taking up bigger and bigger chunks of the economy, and taxation increases. But then they also reform the education to make it easier for people to pass. And so for the past generation or so, you've had grade inflation across almost every Western country. In the UK now, the level of general ignorance is worse than in many places in South Africa. And that's saying something. So, there's this widespread degradation of every institution in Western society. And you're slowly seeing it coming apart at the seams. And now you watch people tearing down every symbol of their heritage in the street, threatening to shoot politicians, shooting people in the street for random cock. It's all happening all over again, going backwards.
It's going to get
All
worse.
society. It
But not
will
quite in the way
get
that
worse.
people think. Yeah, it's going to, yeah.
No, we're gonna.
It's
It's also
interesting.
it's slow motion Mugabenomics would be the way of thinking about it, because Mugabe did this when 1980 rolled around. He decided oh, okay, well, we're going to turn this into a first world country by pumping money into schooling, pumping money into education, expanding the welfare state, giving people free land, all this kind of stuff. And that lasted for 10 years, and then they were broke, and they had to be bailed out by the IMF. And they did that for about 5 years, and they realized that it was politically destabilizing, and they had to maintain power. So they went back to the old. So they decided, instead of sticking to the IMF structural readjustment program, which required them to cut all their welfare programs, they decided to keep all those welfare programs and just print money. And
Sounds familiar.
yeah, and then
There's a couple of
and then
countries
when
where they've done that. Venezuela.
Venezuela. Except that all of these things are advocated by the World Economic Front. They say deficit spending and printing money to pay for the debt. And who benefits from this? Large multinational corporations. So large multinational corporations survive. Rich people who've got assets in companies or have got investments in gold or things like that, they survive. But if you stick your money in a European bank, it actually loses value. They have negative interest rates up here. So things are pretty wild, because they're forcing
have to then spend. Yeah, you're basically being forced to spend your money.
Yes, and you get less and less for it every time. So it's fucking shenanigans. Because it's happening so slowly, people don't really feel that there's much of an issue. And the West is so wealthy that they've got another generation or so where they can keep doing this shit, at least, because they're so wealthy.
I do think, though, we're going to see a turnaround. I think there's a lot of people that are starting to see through it, because it's now becoming more into the public mind. So there's a lot more people that are, what you consider, what we would call a silent majority, that is starting to see this slow march towards socialistic global state, where everyone's a serf of the state, and who is the state? Nothing but, a group of narcissistic elitist people that think they know best for everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, sure, but it's funny you say that, because the particular character of the socialism that they're imposing on us is from a school of thought called Fabian socialism. The Fabian Society was founded in 1884, I think, by a bunch of extremely wealthy British people who didn't like the revolutionary socialism of Karl Marx and preferred top-down technocratic designs. And so one of their followers, a guy called Julian Huxley, wrote the manifesto for UNESCO, which you can purchase from Amazon. And it's It's pretty aggressive stuff. Amongst one of their designs is also to control religion. So there's actually something called the United Religions Initiative that's part of the UN, where they try and promote universal ecumenism between all religions. And this is why I suspect this is why Freemasons and Martinists and Rosicrucians so much like the UN, because the worldviews and their sort of theological positions are so similar. Lots of this equality of man stuff, but you know, there's some people who are slightly more enlightened and they go in a special category and they get to design the policies, you know, which is very, very Masonic in its nature. But
I'm actually glad that you mentioned the Frankfurt School of Thought, because if a person from the outside, if you start reading not only the history of it, but obviously there has been various academic papers published on it. If you'd read it, it comes across as absolutely ridiculous. How can this be possible? I wouldn't go as far as calling it Illuminati-esque, but it has that type of feel to it. And then once you finish reading any of these papers and you sit back and you actually look at these trends, whether it's social or economic or political, on this, and once again, this very one-dimensional line someone's drawn in the sand and went, you either this or either that, you start realizing, but these things are happening. And it's scary to think that we are moving in this process. Now, I think we should all try and be hopeful that at some point there's a turnaround from this absolute car accident we are barreling towards. But it's, I think the silent majority, as Werner stated earlier, I think the silent majority is going to still remain silent for quite a while, unfortunately, because of the extremely loud and vocal and bombastic pushback that, for just a simple generic term,
Do
the
you
far
say
left
that
or the
in the South African context or in terms of an international context?
I think it's relevant for both. Okay, we've had various happenings in the past couple of weeks, not only due to the things like the farm murders, but the news this week alone about our lovely little state institution we call the government. But on a larger scale as well, the silent majority, yes, they're starting to pip up, but it's not to the point where those that are either centered or naive, or even on the left, it's loud enough for them to hear. So the progression is, yes, it's slow and steady, but you could argue that it might be still too slow and too steady for what we hope the turnaround should be.
Yeah, I think there's something we have to be careful of, which is the idea that when you vote a Conservative Party into power, you're going to move to the right. Take Boris Johnson, for example. Every single one of his policies is further to the left than Tony Blair's was. In fact, the only way he could go more further to the left is by nationalizing all the industries, because he's getting to the point that he's having to engage in Mugabenomics to pay for his fucking programs, right? Open borders. I mean, they're putting all of the shenanigans about like, oh, well, we're going to take care of immigration, but what they're really doing is they've made it far more easier to immigrate to the UK, even though they were voted in on an anti-immigration ticket. So and they've turned the NHS into something like basically like a religion. They just pump money into it, and the thing can't function. It's become so corrupt and inefficient that everything is losing quality of service delivery. It's not at African levels by any means, but it really is losing.
I kind of feel like this. You know, I think that in terms of global politics, you know, there's always been this, you know, left and right sort of leaning political groups. You know, some countries have obviously like multi-party systems, others just have two-party systems. You know, but ultimately it comes down to sort of you either sort of on the right sort of on the scale and on the left sort of scale, right? And I think on the international scale, sort of over the last, say, 70 to 80 years, there's been this, at various paces, this march towards a global socialist state. And this last election in the US basically stopped the US because they were on that same trajectory, exactly the same, right? And I think that is why there is such a huge focus now on the one coming up. So, and we're seeing a lot of that being echoed throughout the rest of the world. There's a lot of people, you know what happens in the US always tends to spill over into other countries. So will you get a true sort of right side, because it always seems like there's the left and the right, but they're part of the same bird, There's the left wing and the right wing, but it's the same bird that's been flying in the same direction all along.
Well, I think the way to look at it is like a ratchet. You ever use a ratchet? Wrench?
Yeah.
So it just. Yeah. Well, no.
No.
Is it not that one?
No.
That one's a different one.
Okay.
A ratchet, you can move it to the right all you want, and it just does nothing. It just spins. But you move it to the left, and things start happening. So what you watch with you watch every time a right-wing party comes into power, they press pause, they consolidate all the victories of the previous left-wing administration as a consensus, and then the left-wing party moves further to the left. And so look at Donald Trump now. His fiscal policy is positively incontinent, pissing money down the drain. His stance on gay rights, on pretty much everything. The only things that you could possibly say that he's moved to the right on compared to the rest of the country is abortion, which means that they've only gone back like one generation. And the other one is the aesthetics of federal buildings, which he says now have to be done in a neoclassical style. That's it. Everything else is to the left of his predecessors. Even his immigration policy is more relaxed and more free than Obama's. Obama deported a record number of immigrants. Trump isn't even he's not even remarkable in that field.
And yet the media paints him in a different light.
Yeah, because he said that it matters when people thought that it mattered. I mean, look, United States immigration, if you look at the official figures, it's like 2/3 non-citizens who are living, including what they call undocumented immigrants these days, are receiving federal grants through sanctuary city, federally funded grants. Let me be specific, because the grants are not actually coming from the federal government. What's happened is that until recently, now I haven't been following the legislature recently. I know he's been trying to close this loophole, but basically there's a whole bunch of democratic areas where you can pitch up and you can enroll, whether you're a citizen or not. You can just enroll for like whatever state grants the Americans are giving out, and then the federal government has to back the states. Now he's refusing to bail out the Democratic states now.
Yeah, we'll see how use emergency state funding. And so they'll use disaster funds to pay these grants. And it's
South Africa. You can see a similar structure. You get so many people. Yeah, and in South Africa, you got so many people who are leaking money out of the government system this way. Just people who come in, they can get grants like nobody's business, because there's always someone in Home Affairs that's looking for a sticky palm. It's easy, and
yeah. I think
just leak this way.
I think also just to get once again back on topic, because we've gone quite into politics now. Right wing.
Wasn't that the point?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think also we need to define, or at least see, Open King's confused by all this. I think we need to get to a point where we say, is right wing, the stigma around, is it that bad? I mean, okay, Rob, you explained why there is a stigma and all that. But is it justified that people should be afraid of right wing or being conservative or anything like that? What would you say to someone who labels you as a right wing in a derogatory way?
Negative light, basically.
Yeah.
Well, they have to get to know me to figure out where I'm at with things. The truth of the matter is that like everything has a danger. When you're dealing with politics. Politics is a hairy, and you can't pretend that like, oh no, my ideas are so pure that if everyone just agreed with me, no one would ever come to any harm. It's nonsense. You can become a fanatic for anything and kill for any reason. It's all about context. It's all about sort of how people decide, practical the practical.
There are very few things in this world I would kill for.
And yeah, but
Let's
there are
start
some
with vegans.
guaranteed
There are
ways
some.
to destroy
There are some.
everything.
But
Like
there are few.
vegans. I don't like vegans. Can we start with vegans? If we're,
I
if
dated
we're
a
gonna kill,
veg- I
if we're gonna
dated a
kill on the
vegan
left,
for
let's
a
start
while.
with vegans.
No. I dated a vegan for a while, and I strongly suspect that she really did have a taste for meat.
Hey. Oba Kings, that's how you drop a joke, Oba. That's how you drop a joke.
What? A borrowed one, because that's not new. But okay.
So you gotta treat everyone the
Hey
same,
man, I'm not a professional comedian.
No, I
just
know, but
told jokes that
None of these,
tried and
nor of
tested.
these
No,
guys.
no, I know. I'm just fucking with you. Never mind. Sorry. I'm just saying this is why I failed history. Because of all
I'm
shit
gonna-
that you
I'm-
guys have
I'm
been
gonna-
talking about.
Just so you motherfuckers know, right? I don't eat that much meat.
So what are you like?
He's a purist.
Vegan light. What is you?
Vegan light. No, look, I eat 99% plant-based. And I'll have once in a blue moon, I'll only have
Okay, you're not special, Ben.
wild.
You just don't
No,
like
no,
meat.
no.
It's fine.
No, look, I used to eat no meat whatsoever, vegan, vegetarian, for many different reasons. It wasn't about the animals. It was for health reasons.
I just thought where you live, they don't deliver meat, so you didn't have a choice.
Ah, Jesus, dude! I live in the middle between a bunch of farmers. Like I have meat. Like they slaughter a pig once a week down the road from me, right? I live right in the middle of where, it's place country, right?
Like you live in an abattoir.
We grew,
I'm trying to
bride
think of
Monday,
everything can
Tuesday,
You live in Petu
Wednesday,
Palace.
Thursday. We bride 5 days a week, my friend, and on Saturday we bride twice. Okay.
Why do you put on an accent when you're putting on? Why? Why are you
That's
putting on an
because
accent though?
chicken is a vegetable.
Yeah, but chicken is
Yeah.
a vegetable. It's
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sacred
So-
meat of
No, look, not all vegans are assholes. A lot of vegans are assholes, right? And I think it may be good to have a chat about this. Like, why are some vegans assholes?
and
Right.
CrossFit.
And oh yeah, I mean, don't fucking get me started on vegan CrossFit.
Isn't that like the same thing? Like when you
Right.
started as vegan and you end up as a CrossFit as a CrossFit enthusiast, like it's a level like
Yeah.
your entry base is
I
vegan.
think it's an interesting discussion to have. So let's keep that for
I
another.
heard that
Yeah, we
in
will.
these CrossFit gyms they don't allow you in if you're not vegan. Is that true?
So what?
Sorry, I'm just talking shit, guys. Never mind me. It's fine. It's one of those nights where all my jokes are dying.
Wah,
It's okay.
wah, wah.
One of those nights where all my jokes are dying. It's fine. It happens. So yeah, we are here now.
Maybe you're low energy because you need some meat.
Ooh.
Venom is supply.
He's been watching too many Martin Evans specials. Oh wait, there aren't any.
Who's Martin Evans?
You know,
That's what I said.
Exactly.
Next time.
I'm not joking. I actually don't know who he is.
Exactly.
You know,
How's the weather? How's
this-
the weather in Netherlands there? How's the weather?
you know, this stream is definitely not vegetarian because it seems like Mikhail's got some beef that he just brought out.
Yeah.
These guys are gonna demonetize you, and I'm
Oh, we were demonetized a while ago. Don't worry about that.
Oh shit! Alright, okay.
Remember you.
So are we only depending on super chat? So I'm gonna appeal again to the people in the super chat. You know me. As you heard, Joe is not making money from this thing.
Sorry, Rob.
So
This
please,
is our
for everything, just
charity
super
moment.
chat and let this. No, charity starts in the comments, not at home. It starts in the comments. That's what I'm saying. Sorry,
I
guys.
just feel bad for Rob because he was expecting some form of structure
I did
and
warn him.
intellectual
I did
and
warn him.
intellectual debate and discussion,
Mm-mm.
and then
I
Ober
was
King
trying to
happened.
be intellectual, you know,
Mm.
but
Yeah, but then Ober King happened.
Yeah,
Now it's all
fine.
puss and voort.
thank fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Peter Snot
That's
here.
not- that's
Can you
not-
imagine?
That's not
Could
a
you
bit like
imagine
Nathaniel
a drunk
is.
Pete in the middle of this shit, right? A drunk Peter.
I mean, if you think about it, we've come full circle. You know, a revolution, if you like.
Rob's on a
Nice
roll
one.
today.
That joke saved Ober King's stream. Ober King's sitting there with a pencil and a notebook.
Die hele revolution is net push and vote.
Well, I mean, this is a whole this is a whole new meaning to Stellenbosch Mafia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was doing a Nathaniel impersonation.
But it was a really bad one.
I was.
No,
Yeah,
Mikhail's
it was
good at
like
it.
a weird sort of like a,
Thing is, if you really want to do Nathaniel as a mafia, you also have to work on your catchphrase as a warning.
Which will it be? Come
Yeah,
on.
come on, Mikhail, tell us.
no,
Luister nou net
that's
vir
not
my. Hallo, nee, raak jy net vir my rustig, okay? Nou jy wil nou nie my kak by Checkers koop nie. So dis baie eenvoudig. Of jy koop my vleis of ek begrawe jou in Parys. Maar dis jou opsies.
Rob and Ben are
No
facepalming.
one is ever gonna take us serious. No one's gonna ever take us serious. Fuck. That's good.
Shit.
That's good. Don't even take us serious because we're not. We're just talking shit. This is just funny. You should say that, and it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
That
the views and
wasn't
opinions
funny.
and
Not
impersonations
Not
Well,
serious.
do not
I
represent
I
everyone.
have to admit, though, it was hard for me to make bureaucratic socialism funny. It's a very, very lame joke, you know.
Yeah, that
Well,
was a bit of a
I mean,
wah,
maybe
wah, wah.
Nice.
funny,
Nice.
right?
Nice.
Socialism isn't funny because it's a damn crying shame. But if you look at most of the people that support it, they're funny.
And that's why, you know, all of those. How many? Do you guys know any of those Russian jokes?
Yeah, we know all of
Because
them.
now I've completely. I no, there's like a standard format. Let me actually see.
Don't
There's
you
a-
mean
there's
our
a-
Russian
what?
jokes?
What? Knock, knock. Who's there? We ask the questions. Those type of Russian jokes.
That's a German joke. That's a German. Let me see, let me actually see if I can
guys,
find some
we
of
are
these
gonna get-
motherfuckers.
We are all gonna get sued. Let's not even go there. We're all gonna get sued in some.
What
fucking
is
way.
Vladimir? Is
I
Vladimir
did put a
Putin going to
disclaimer
send
out
you
there.
a cease and desist?
I said
Vladimir is.
everybody, like, you know, the show does.
No.
We're not responsible.
Oh wait, here we go. Four comrades go to a Soviet hotel for a night during a business trip. As they walk into their room, three of them whip out some vodka, food, and cigarettes and begin to make jokes about the government and be very, very loud indeed. So the fourth one is trying to get some meaningful sleep, and knowing it would be fruitless to ask them to stop, he hatches an ingenious plan. Goes downstairs to reception and asks for a cup of coffee to be delivered to the room. Make sure you deliver it exactly 10 minutes starting from now. Returning back to the room, he joins his comrades in the middle of a Stalin joke. He sits up shocked and exclaims, Comrades, you must not say these things. Don't you know? They're listening to our conversations right now. Comrades jeer and laugh at him and say that it is impossible. Really? Then how do you explain this? He gets up and speaks to the lampshade by the bed. I would like a black coffee to be delivered to my room, please. And sure enough, in a short amount of time, a maid walks in with a cup of coffee and some sugar. 3 other comrades turn deathly pale and quickly turn in for the night. The last comrade drinks his coffee and peacefully goes to sleep. Come morning, the 4th comrade's awakened to find that his friends and all their belongings are missing. Thoroughly confused and anxious, the man walks downstairs to the reception to inquire whether his friends had checked out earlier in the morning. I'm afraid not, sir. You see, the KGB raided your room during the night and placed your friends under arrest for ridiculing the Soviet regime. But how come they didn't take me? Oh, the captain very much enjoyed your joke. So they usually have like that kind of thing.
Wake me up when we get to the punchline.
We did.
Overking, you can't be salty.
Wake me up. I know, but I made bad jokes.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that was the longest setup in setup history. Like that was.
I know. I was expecting it to be over by
You
like
couldn't
line
even
2.
sketch that on stage. I mean, you could not do that as a sketch on stage.
No, dude, I realized like I was like in it already, and I was hoping for like one of the standard ones that's usually like this 2-line thing.
You were
like,
supposed to read
you know,
the chapter. You read the index.
I read the fucking index. I knew I was going to make a cock up.
Read the blurb.
I think it may be important to point out that socialist jokes are just as long as the fucking bread lines.
Nice. There we go.
Boom. Now that's a short socialist joke.
Every socialist joke comes with a 5-year plan.
Guaranteed warranty.
State sponsored.
I'm going to be honest on that topic, though. I'm surprised that your contemporary socialism that is being force-fed, that no one, even our extremely intelligent 30% car guards that run the country, hasn't tried to implement as strong and vocally a 5-year plan as the idols have. I find it quite surprising that it hasn't been tackled with that type of fervor yet.
Well, I think the simple answer is that you know, the party has a very, very top-down autocratic style, right? So whoever is in charge makes the rules. And so every president you get different. Mandela, we love everybody. We spread the wealth. So he does lots of RDP, lots of shit like that, gets a bit of debt racked up. Becky, he goes, well, I don't want to end up like Zimbabwe. So 2003 does structural readjustment. He does like privatizes everything. And also he punishes the countryside by cutting all of their police stations and stopping recording the race of the crime victims. So we get budget. We eliminate the debt over the few years that Becky's in charge. And then Zuma comes in, and his style is very simple. If you're my friend, you get money. If you're my enemy, you get a bullet. And so a lot of people things started getting hairy in KZN again. And Ramaphosa is a real communist. He really 100% believes in communism. But he also understands that the best way to achieve it is while holding on to political legitimacy abroad. And so if you watch actually they legitimize every single move they make in terms of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And every year, like clockwork, they make a very neat and detailed report. And you watch their reports on everything, like with the coronavirus nonsense. Everything looks like it was done in 5 minutes by a complete fucking dwarf. But the second they're reporting to the UN and they're telling you how tight and shiny everything is, absolutely immaculate academic quality, formatted, neat, tidy, flat design with all of the colors there, right? It's remarkable because he knows how to play it, because the United Nations has a land reform program.
Yep.
And so it's all about giving access to the disadvantaged, you see.
Yep.
I just feel bad for I just feel bad for Jan Smuts. I think he's turning in his grave with regards to what he thought when he helped establish the League of Nations. I think that man is.
Do you know what he did? He didn't help establish it. He wrote the Constitution of the United Nations. Sorry, of the League of Nations.
The League of Nations.
And he wrote the mission statement for the United Nations and designed several of their departments from the ground up, intending for them to penetrate state business. He had this like weird ass philosophy. So like the thing that keeps coming back in all of the policy documents in the UN is that phrase that he stuck in the beginning of the preamble to the Constitution of the UN, which is freedom from fear, freedom from want. So what that is no war, no crime, no shortage, just happy, smiley people.
No woman, no cry. No
woman, no cry. Yes, but
sorry, this wrong revolutionary.
The only revolution that guy is going through is twisting the joint together. I mean, Bob Marley, you know, he's great at churning out the tunes, but my God, like, just him and John Lennon.
All right, so
John Lennon was
I just noticed we're on the hour mark, and I would like to keep these episodes to an hour. So very briefly, in closing, guys, like as brief as possible, do we feel that we may have changed perception of right wing? Who wants to go first?
No.
No.
Definitely
Maybe
not.
for one person watching, but no.
No.
You cannot change someone's mind just by
unless
they
go through a lobotomy.
No, and people have to go figure out stuff for themselves. They have to go, and you can talk to your blue in the face, but that's just how the human brain works.
Cool.
Yeah, reality needs to give you a push clap.
Exactly. But here's the other thing. So, it's a lot of these guys that we mentioned, that were perceived right or perceived left. It seems like they all have been plodding along the same course for probably the better part of the last 80, 90 years. If we can, if we just look at how society has changed and where it's moved towards, the central banks, how that has shifted, where it all goes to. If you look at this concept of state-owned land, and people will have stewardship, but they won't ever own it. So that kind of stuff. Mega farming operations, agribusiness as opposed to rural farmers. So that's all the UN Sustainable Development Plan, and that's what they're doing in South Africa. And it's. If you look at the number of farmers, if you look at something like 20 years ago, we had something like 200,000 farmers, active farmers. We're now down to 40,000 farmers.
Yeah. I mean, look, all of that commercial sector conglomeration aside, it's also that institutions are the carriers of value in society. It's what's happening in institutions are patterns of social organization that can repeat themselves over time. And if you don't have institutions, the values that are carried that would be carried there die away. That's why the churches are under attack, because Christianity is in opposition to most of the shenanigans. I mean, think about it, almost every left-wing value goes against Christianity. It's like we're all for pornography and sex and drugs and rock and roll. All of this clean living, monogamy shit. No. That's bourgeois, you see.
But that's the one. Shortly, and obviously, Joe, I know you want to finish off, but that's the one thing that you've also seen that's been moving away now. Whether that is, we can subscribe it to this whole socialist movement and the far left, and everything is free and we're happy and we could do whatever we want without having to take responsibility for it, is not only simply in Christianity, but your Abrahamic faiths. There are certain cores that that are crucial that you're seeing moving away from, something like the nuclear family, those type of family values that I think our generation still sort of grew up with. That's being moved away from, and a lot of you can say a lot of your values and your moral compass and so forth can stem from that. But as you've stated, Rob, that is now under attack because it's apparently not right, or it's oppressive, or
it doesn't facilitate communist consciousness.
Exactly.
Put, as always.
And that's the problem, because you're going to reach a point at some stage where you're going to have a lot larger public attacks, hopefully not, on things like people that still maintain what we would call old family values, which in itself is not harmful to anyone or anything, but it's apparently now another evil that needs to be vanquished by the vegan sword of divinity somehow. But that's not how it works. It's not how it's supposed to work. And then we've discussed this many times. Okay, this has probably come across as extremely right-wing to whoever's watching. I'm awfully sorry, asshole. But
Says a man with like lapels on his shoulder. It's gonna come over, but dude, you've got fucking lapellies. You say fucking actually, like some badges.
No, I am not right wing. I am just in the right place.
I have publicly stated, because I'm Afrikaans, I automatically stand in family photos from right to far right, apparently. It's the only way we pose for pictures. And no, I do have the flashes, but obviously I'm not wearing the flashes because it would be deemed illegal. But I'm in favor of things of having your things like nation states again. There's in its simplest form, for layman's terms, those watching, a form of tribalism where sort of each keeps to their own, because it's a lot easier to maintain a certain set of values within a system like that.
I have an alternative to that. So multiculturalism works. No, it does work in one specific case. When you have no democracy. When you have no democracy, multiculturalism works just fine.
All right. I feel like that's a conversation for another day. Because that can get really, we can, and I would love actually to have Mikhail and Rob maybe debate that on a Let's Talk show. I've actually been wanting to get you two together.
On serious, you should say that.
Yeah. I feel like this conversation was a bit too serious for Overking.
Jesus. Yo.
Overking was like, that was some deep fucking water.
That was some deep shit. Like, this is. I felt like I was in a guidance class or something. Like, I don't know. Just fucking.
Overking's like,
listen to like.
I could have been wanking talks right now. Now I have to listen to this shit.
Bro, my favorite porn star just followed me on Instagram, so I don't know. I could have been in the DMs, like.
Oh no, dude!
Love your work.
No, like this. This was. I actually learned a lot of nothing from this.
Can't be thirsty. Christian values type.
What? I learned a lot.
Porn stars. You hurting Jesus?
No, that's right. What about Jesus? Jesus and porn is the same here? What?
He has to watch you doing that.
No, I don't believe in that guy. I only believe in them when I'm in trouble. now I'm fine. Now I'm fine. I don't need Jesus right now. Jesus is that guy when you need your squad. I call him when I need my squad. Like, somebody's bullying me, or like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't have money. And I'm like, yo, Jesus, help me out. But when life is going good, I don't bother that guy. So it's fine.
Rob, I gotta ask. So
also he has other problems, Jesus.
Saying that he watches, do you hunch over in shame so he doesn't see, or do you just lie back and just say, like, have a watch?
Hey man,
No. You
that
just
made my
you just
dick. I'm just like, yo, you already know this shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm out here. I don't care.
But you know what it makes me think of is, do you ever meet like someone who's from the ZCC?
Yeah, uncle.
Like what, like, but not like a pious one, like one of the guys who breaks the rules on the weekend and goes drinking.
Yes, my uncle.
Yeah. Do you notice he
No,
hides the
no,
sticker?
my uncle never did that.
He
I just
just
told
they'll take that sticker, and they won't just like leave it at home. They have to hide it under something
yeah,
before they
I
leave.
take it out, put it in the pockets. The same thing. You know, it's fine. I've drank with many of ZCC people.
Like I
They were
spoke to this
they
guy
were
once who
jumping
said,
for
when
joy
you
while
hide it, God can't see you. When you hide the sticker, God can't see you.
No, bro, that's it. No, they only take off that thing because it's a cock block. There's nothing else. Okay.
But I would have
The
thought,
cock
like, if
block.
you're wearing that thing, then the woman is like, this is an upright man, he can afford things.
No, it's a cock block. Nobody wants. You can be in your flyest fucking outfit ever. Like the minute you have the star on, it's like, yeah, no, this guy's gonna tell me about Jesus. Are we trying to fight? Oh, it's gonna happen. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking. I have family from the ZCC denomination. I'm just talking shit. There's
Which
nothing
denomination? You got to be careful because those two are still fighting. Hey,
the pigeon is not a cock block at all. This is a myth.
makes you fly. All the women will want to
This is just a myth.
super missionary
Nothing
position
like
you.
that. I would like to categorically state that. I'm just joking. Look,
All right. Cool.
Have you seen how militant those guys are? They wear uniforms and shit. You don't know. Like the minute you see hats and uniforms, they look like the black right wing. You know?
No, dude, those guys are for serious. Like I knew a guy I worked with back in Northwest Province. Like he dabbled in the church for a bit, and then he decided it wasn't for him. And when he left, they came to his house and beat him up for leaving.
Wow.
Damn.
All right, so let's call it now before I get my whole channel canceled. So I just want to say to Rob, thank you so much for joining us once again, ladies and gentlemen. Please support Rob. His YouTube channel is in the link. The link to his YouTube channel is in the description below. So please go give him a subscribe. Like I said, he does a lot of videos, historical videos, which I think are very interesting and worth a watch. And
go super chat in his comments as well. Don't just super chat in Joe's channel. Go
There's
super
been
chat
no
in Joe's
super
channel.
chats tonight, Oba King. I think people are a bit strapped for cash. But if you want to do your little super chat rant, you can.
Why are you being nice? These people have money. It's almost the 15th. Some of them got paid today because the 15th is tomorrow. Those dates have not changed. Some of them can spare 10 rand because we gave very, very, very crucial information here about the right wings and the left wings and the middle centers. So, hey, if you have 7 rand, come on, super chat. Because Joe needs to go buy bread and and pay for his data. and Rob also needs to go for a better haircut. So please, super chat in his channel as well. I don't know why you're being nice about this thing when we spend an hour here giving people worthwhile information, and here you are being nice. No, don't be nice. Pay up.
There's a guy. There's a guy I follow, and he did like he very rarely does Q&A streams, but he does like stuff on like economics, and he's very like capitalist, And when he does the Q&A streams, he won't answer any question that isn't a super chat. If you're not paying, he doesn't give up.
My man.
Here
we go. Capitalist super chat.
All right. All right. Once again, thank you, Rob, for joining us. Thank you, Mikhail. Thank you, Venner and Oba King, for being part of this conversation. We will be having a third part to this conversation where we should have Jeremy Nell joining us to give his input, and then we'll be pretty much putting it to bed after that. So Rob, thank you so much for joining. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
I don't know. Just be lekker, don't be a puss.
I was ready for that P-bomb. I was waiting for the P-bomb.
The thing is, he doesn't get to say it in the Netherlands, so every time he gets to say the word poes, it's like, ouch, hey.
Hey, niet te kut zijn, hoor.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. We will be back in 2 weeks from now for the next episode of Funny You Should Say That. So until I see you then, or I might see you tomorrow night for a show. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, tomorrow night we have Roasting the Headlines. That's with me, Obaking, Mikhail, and Bevan. Please tune into that. It's just fun, laughter. We roast the headlines and we tell funny stories. It's a lot of fun. So please join us for that tomorrow evening. And if I don't see you there, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.
Don't get COVID.
Hey guys, so if you enjoyed the show, please consider giving it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to my channel. And if you really enjoyed the content, feel free to join and become a member. Don't forget about my fight against cancel culture. That's in the link in the description below. Support my fight against cancel culture. Go to that link and all the information is there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.